Hey guys, Brad from SimpleGuitar.com here, and today we're going to save your strumming, because if strumming is something that has got you frustrated and you're going, why doesn't my strumming sound good? It should sound better than this. What is the hang up? Today I've got 3 simple fixes that we're going to work with to help make sure that your strumming is awesome and that it sounds great. Now, do make sure that you stick around for all 3, because number 3 is probably the easiest to overlook and the simplest fix out of all 3 of these. Actually, they're all simple, but number 3 is my favorite. All right, so stick around for that. Plus, I have a gift for you at the end of this video, so make sure that you get that as well. Now, tip number 1 is really simple. The first thing that you gotta do is you just gotta buy a thin pick. Okay, this is a 0.5 millimeter Dunlop Tortex pick. It's the red one, and when it comes to just strumming, if all you're worried about is strumming, a thin pick like this is great. This is very flexible, very bendy. I would not play lead guitar with this at all, but if you're just strumming, especially on an acoustic like this, and you just wanna bonus points if you know that song, leave it down in the comments. But just as simple as that, getting a thinner pick is going to make strumming easier. Now, normally I play with a 0.73 pick. This is great. It's a good medium pick, and I can get some good lead stuff. But even just that, you can hear that pick sounds a little bit different, right? Just for strumming, a thin pick is gonna do you better, okay? Now let's go on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is all about your wrist, okay? Here's the number 1 thing that I see people messing up when it comes to their strumming, is their wrist is way too tight. Okay, you do not want to have a lot of tension in your wrist. I will see people strumming and their wrist doesn't move. And all the strumming is coming from the elbow like this. We do not want that. You need to relax your wrist. Your wrist should be nice and loosey-goosey, okay? Loosey-goosey. Loosey-goosey, it's all in the wrist, right? It's like Happy Gilmore, right? So make sure that your wrist is nice and relaxed, because when you're strumming, you're going to come from the elbow and the wrist, right? So my strumming motion, it starts from the elbow and then the wrist carries it through. So it's both joints working. So you have to make sure that your wrist is nice and loose and ready to go, because when you're strumming, I'm picking my wrist up this way at the top, and as my elbow goes down, I'm flicking at the bottom like that, okay? And that is just gonna happen naturally. It's not like something I have to think about, but if your wrist is not relaxed, that motion of being able to have it up and flick it down is not going to happen very easily. Just think of it like you got water on your hands. This is the most common analogy that I hear all the time, is you act like you're flicking water, shaking water off your hands. Like you just washed your hands and they're out of paper towels, and so you're just flicking the water off your wrist, right? That is your strumming motion for a downstroke. And then for an upstroke, your wrist still has to be relaxed, because when you pull it up and you just hit a couple strings, it's that wrist motion that catches that. It's not your elbow as much as it is the wrist. And that is going to impact your strumming, because if your wrist is tense and tight, what's going to happen is your pick angle is going to change. When your wrist is loose, your pick is going to glide across the strings. And if your wrist is rigid, your pick is going to dig into the strings a lot more. And when it digs into the strings because your wrist isn't moving, it sounds like garbage. We don't want you to sound like garbage. We want you to sound like a rock star and to feel like a rock star, right? So tip number 2 is make sure that your wrist is relaxed and loosey-goosey. Now, tip number 3, and like I said earlier, this is probably the most overlooked tip, and it has to do with both of the other tips that we've done before, is you have to loosen your grip on your pick. Now, along with people having their wrist tight and immobile and not moving when they strum, the other problem is people will squeeze the crap out of their pick, okay? And you can't do that because I'm going to switch to my other pick right now. So this is my .73, okay? If I squeeze the crap out of this, listen to my strumming, even if my wrist is a little bit loose, right? But if I relax, just loosening up my grip on the pick a little bit, just loosening your grip is going to help your wrist relax. And then it's not going to matter what pick you're using, it's going to make it easier, right? But here it is. If I do the really thin pick and I squeeze the crap out of the pick because I'm afraid I'm going to drop it in my sound hole and feed my guitar, what it's going to do is sound like this. But if I relax my grip, you hear how the pick just glides across the top so much easier? It's the combination of these three things. A thin pick makes it super easy to strum. Relaxing your wrist allows the right motion and mechanics to make sure that you're flicking your wrist down and bring it back up when you do an upstroke. And then relaxing the grip on your wrist, okay? You want to hold it tight enough that you're not dropping your pick and that it's not moving in your fingers. We don't want your pick moving in your fingers, but you don't have to squeeze the life out of it, okay? That's a very common problem that I see a lot of people do, is when they are starting out strumming or picking, they strum or they pick way harder than necessary because the picks generally provide enough of a hard surface that it doesn't take a lot of effort to get a string to sound good. So make sure that you relax the grip on your pick. Make sure that your wrist is loosey-goosey and relaxed and easy moving, okay? Now, you want that water flicking off your hand motion, okay? That's the big thing. Make sure if your wrist is not loose, you're not going to get that, okay? And then also, if all you're doing is strumming, get yourself a thin pick. Those are the 3 tips that are going to save your strumming today, and I hope that that was helpful for you. If it was, let me know down in the comments which one of these you're going to try out today. And also, if you watched this lesson this far, I have another gift for you. If you go to my website at simpleguitar.com/top10, there I have a gift for you called the Top 10 Things to Learn on Guitar First. Now, that is a 17-page PDF that is free. I put it together for you. It's 10 things I teach beginners that gets them a lot of bang for their buck when it comes to playing the guitar and sounding really good, okay? They get you playing more music a lot faster. So go get that guide. But on top of that, at the end of that guide, there is a link to a playlist here on YouTube. I have videos for each one of those points in the top 10 things to learn on Guitar First so that you don't have to just read it. You can go through and go deeper with those videos as well. So thanks for watching today. Now, if strumming is new to you, here is a video that you need to go watch about strum patterns and the most basic strum patterns that you need to master for 4/4 time. That means 4 beats per measure, and I will see you in the next video.